There are a couple more custom features that I'm going to mention that we use for different purposes. So one of the very ones at the top of my list is the fact that we can all see these slides right now, like we're in a sandbox here, and that's the share screen feature, right? So just going over some of the ins and outs real quick, depending on the settings for how you set up the meeting, you may all have the ability, whether you're a host or a participant, to screen share. I will tell you right now, I think the way we have ours set up is that you guys have the ability to screen share, but only the host can take over screen share if someone else is already using it, right? So I'm using it right now. So Courtney could take over screen share permissions, or I guess she could enable somebody else to do it. But, you know, if you are, I guess, all in the room trying to figure out how to use Zoom, whoever starts screen share under the settings that we have is the only one that's able to do it at that time. But you can also enable remote, what do they call it? Remote control of the screen. So if this was something more like, you know, maybe Courtney was going to have slide decks for multiple presenters as the coordinator, and she wanted to bring them up one by one and enable the remote share, she could have individuals within the room access what's on the screen and actually go through and move it around and stuff. So, you know, as always, consider your use case there as to what's useful and what's going to be a headache for you. But screen share is probably one of the reasons that Zoom has become so popular, is that people are very quickly able to bring things up and kind of share them. A few of the quirks of it are different ways that you might see it used. So you can share your whole screen, which is what I'm doing. I'm using 2 monitors. So I do have my notes down here on my laptop screen, and then I'll make my slides go away for a second. There they are. And then up on my monitor screen, I actually have these slides for you. So when I'm thinking about, you know, how am I going to set up my meeting, I tend to use my screen that is not being shared as by queue, right? So I might have things open in tabs. I might have my other programs open. So, you know, if I wanted to, I don't know, bring up these notes, I guess, or even bring up, you know, the little gallery view of you guys on video, it's really, really quickly to bring up on the screen share, right? But you can decide, do you want to share your whole screen? So anything that's going to show up on this monitor up here, or you can also share just an individual tab within a browser too, which might be really important if there's some other stuff on your screen that you don't want people to see. All right. So hosts can present materials. I mentioned there is the ability for participants to present materials. If it's more of a stand-up and you guys are going back and forth, or maybe to Zaheen's point, collaborating on a project. And then this is another way that you can think about just using this as a tool in general. Perhaps you are the expert and you're trying to connect with someone within your organization that's working remotely, because that's what we're all doing, right? You may be able to do a quick like live troubleshooting or workshop session with them to show them how to make a Google Drive file shareable and viewable by all, right? Maybe you're trying to just set up some kind of a tool set to be able to work remotely, and you want to be able to hop in and mess with what's on their screen and use that remote control feature. You know, just think about it just like they're doing telemedicine right now. This is just another way you can use this as a tool to go in and communicate and not physically have to be on that person's computer to go back and forth and do that. All right, and I got one more on here, and then I'll kind of pause for questions. There's Binks out in the sun, helping out with the garden, getting all grown up. All right, so the very last one here is, you know, I mentioned this at the top of it as people were getting into the room. You do have the invite function. So whether you are, you know, you have your email browser open or you're texting with someone or whatever, this is probably the quickest way to get somebody into the room that can't find the link. So you can go in and notify them via email. I forget what other options are there. Courtney, are you able to see what other options it offers you? I think you can just copy the link, or you can go through email. What else do they allow you to do there?
Yeah, so email inviting the actual copying the link. And then I think you could do it with the calendar too, right?
Okay.
Calendar.
Yeah. Yeah. And in your setup, you have these options too. So really, consider your audience and consider how many different ways you're reminding them of how to get into the meeting. Because, some people love just clicking on the calendar link and going right there, which is usually how I do it. Some people are going to refer back to that email. We sent it out through Eventbrite, and then you all should have gotten an email with the digital link, I want to say 2 days before, 2 hours before, and I think 10 minutes before the meeting, it's supposed to share it as well. But yeah, the more ways people can get in, generally the better when it comes to these things. But I saw there was a question in chat. Which Zoom features have you found most helpful for remote meetings? I would say the one I'm on right now, screen share, honestly. I'm a very visual person, so it's great to talk about this stuff, but it's really nice to be able to do this, or, I'll go ahead and give you a sneak peek at what's coming up on the next slide here with my notes. If we're all sitting here talking and like jotting down notes and brainstorming, I like to be able to see the notes. So yeah, if you're a visual person, like screen share is like my number one go-to feature. So, did anybody else have any questions or any best practices or anything about screen share they thought was worth mentioning while we're here? Screen share. Okay. Let me get my notes now that I'm sliding things around here. Cool. So the rest of this is kind of thinking about how you might run a regular meeting and how Zoom maybe even does some things that a regular meeting doesn't do, right? An in-person meeting, I should say. Regular meeting. We're never going to be back to regular again. In-person meeting. And that one of them is the record function. So we're doing this workshop today, and you guys are in the room, obviously able to engage and kind of soak this in like a sponge. But if you wanted to be able to go back and refer to this after the fact, Zoom does record the video as well as the audio. And there's different settings you can change about that as far as which screen it's recording. Is it recording this little gallery view of everyone that's on screen? Do you want to save what's in your chat so you can go back and, maybe catch a link that somebody shared or something like that? So, you would normally have your notes or your agenda after the meeting. This is giving you just another way for people to go in and get the information, or, perhaps fill in some blanks in your notes that maybe you didn't get, right? And when you go to record, the options that it'll give you is either to do it locally, so you can select where you want it to record to on your device, or if you are the account holder on Zoom, it'll record to that Zoom account, and then you can go in and download it from there. And it'll give you a video file, and this is depending on how you have it set up, but typically you'll get a video file, you'll get a separate audio file, and then if you chose to, you'll also get a file for your chat, and you can decide what is the easiest way to share the contents with the people that attended. So just a couple of things I had already mentioned there, and then, something else to think about depending on the kind of meeting you run. So maybe you're doing a town hall. That's a lot of people are doing that in government positions right now. And maybe they want to just break that out into shorter little digestible pieces and not an hour-and-a-half town hall. So obviously, if you have the ability to edit video, you can take that video file, put a title on the beginning of it, put a little site link or whatever, your call to action at the end, and post that out there as content. So just like we're going to be doing with this workshop at the very end of this today, we'll reshare this on our YouTube channel, and people can consume this after the fact. So yeah, take that in-person meetings. And I did mention there you can save your chat thread as well. So gonna put the pause on for questions or thoughts on recording meetings. So, have you guys forgot to record your meetings at all? Has that ever happened? Never. If you do, get a coordinator and make sure she's as professional as Courtney is, because she's got this on lockdown.
Every production committee meeting, the first 5 minutes.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. You'll have to ad lib and add it to the recording, I guess. So this is just like a quick little preview of what it looks like when you record to the cloud. And when you guys are running Zoom, if you're running it on a laptop or whatever, there is an app version you can download, but people can run it directly from the browser. Zoom does prefer you to download the app because there's just more features there that they're updating. But if you're logged in and you're looking for your recordings, you'll be able to find them in this little sidebar. And it's really nice because it does timestamp them. And then whenever you go through and actually click on the more, that shows you like your audio files, your chat files, your video files. Or you can share it as a link with your collaborators to be able to go and download it individually if you're using your Zoom account as the storage space. But the storage space does tend to fill up pretty quickly. So once again, having this coordinator type person work with you or whoever's job it is, it's a good idea to have somebody go in periodically, maybe once a week, downloading these and putting them to your cloud storage and making them accessible as they need to be. So as you're kind of wrapping these up, just as you would in a regular meeting, you're doing your sign up. Maybe you're mentioning how to find these recordings or find the meeting notes, right? There is this whole end meeting button, and it's very simple once you figure out how to use it and how it works. But you could also end up doing some things that are embarrassing if you don't know how it works, right? So whenever you go to leave and you are the host, it's going to give you two options on there. It's either going to give you leave the meeting, or it's going to be end the meeting for all, which just reading out that last one there, end the meeting for all. If you are the host and you click that, what do you think is going to happen next?
Everyone's getting kicked.
Right? Yeah, party's over. You literally do have to go home because the party is over and the room is shut down. So if you are the host and you want people to continue talking, maybe there's something going on with the breakout meeting or whatever, choose the leave the room versus ending the meeting for all function there. Now, if you are the host and there's no co-host and you leave the room, the recording will stop on its own. And it'll go to either, your local device or the cloud, depending on where you told it to go, right? And like we said, if you end the meeting for all, like everybody's getting kicked out of the party and it's over. Now, if you've assigned a co-host, I don't know if you can even do the end meeting for all if there's a co-host in there. That's a one that I need to troubleshoot. But they can continue to go in there and assign people permissions. They can record the meeting. They can continue to do all the things the host could do. So just because you leave as host doesn't mean you're taking the crown off the co-host and they can't do those things anymore. So, once again, setting these things up ahead of time and kind of doing like a test is a good idea. But it does give you the flexibility of allowing the meeting to continue even if the host needs to leave.
Question.
Yeah.
So if there is no co-host and someone wants to leave the meeting, do they have to make someone else the host to continue?
No. The meeting, and this just happened in one of the meetings I was in yesterday, as long as the host does not do end meeting for all, the meeting should continue. One area that I would probably go through and test some more is what permissions the people in the room still have. Like, I think it would just default to whatever permissions were set up in the room. So if permissions in the room said that any participant could screen share, people could still do that while they're in the meeting. But they couldn't like mute and unmute each other. And if it says that participants can't screen share, they could talk and engage, but that would be about it. So good question though. All right. So if I don't have any other questions about that particular slide, I'll go to general questions about Zoom. So this is not my cat. This is a Creative Commons image cat here, probably very popular. But yeah, so I figure everybody's coming from different experiences and different kinds of meetings they're setting up. So just kind of leave this time open. If there's things that you're trying to set up for your meetings or things you're getting frustrated with, or even just trying to figure out, is this a feature that I can do? You know, I'm not a Zoom salesman, but this is the tool that I use more often than not. Feel free to kind of spring those on us now while we're all sitting here as humans in this room. Or if you have other best practices or features that you like to use. So,
I guess the question I have is just about time limits. Like, there's like the free version that some folks might be limited on time. And is there a way to schedule how long a meeting is? And do you have to extend it, or generally about that?
Yeah. So from what I've discovered, so the non-pro account, the free version, that does have a 40-minute meeting limit on it. So, you know, you can't make it any longer than that. But for the meetings that I've set up under a pro level account, even if you put a time limit on the meeting, it doesn't end the meeting. I think it's more so when you're posting like a calendar, it just gives everybody an expectation, but it's not like a hard stop when you select that time. Best practices. My cat's back. But yeah, I mean, and what we're going to end up doing is we're going to share like a little screen recording of some of the best practice settings that we set up for our meetings, just so people can kind of get an idea, you know, of where to start. And feel free to ask more questions. I'm going to go to the next slide, but this is more of discussion time at this point since we're getting. It just froze. Oh, there we go. Sorry, I froze for a second there, guys. I'm coming back.
Weird for a second.
Here, am I back? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're good.
Cool. Yeah, I don't know what happened just there for a second. So just wanted to share a couple things for follow-up here since we are wrapping up. I'm going to do my follow-up. You can go on our workharddigital.eventbrite.com to just basically follow and get notified of the next remote workshops we have coming up, which we are looking to, you know, kind of keep a mind on people that are transitioning services to be remotely, or if you're just, you know, wanting to take some educational content to sharpen your professional skills. We're doing some things that have to do more with sales and marketing, you know, growing your audience, maybe using some different kinds of digital tools that you might find helpful for remote operations. So keep an eye out for that, and certainly go on there and follow if you want to be notified of what's coming up next.